and I have the wackiest condition on the planet. Every time I want to cry, I end up laughing instead. Yikes. Have you ever laughed at the wrong moment and it's been super awkward for you? Well, that's my life. Every single day. At first, my parents thought I was the happiest baby in the world because I laughed at everything. When I started teething at 6 months, instead of crying because it hurt, I'd keep my parents up all night because I couldn't stop laughing. And when I started crawling and bumped my head everywhere, I'd just burst into giggles. That's when Dad started calling me a weirdo. He hated anything unusual. What kind of kid does that? There's definitely something wrong with her. She's a crazy baby and it's embarrassing. She clearly can't help it. Can you, baby boo? But Dad didn't listen. He really started to hate me, and it wasn't just for laughing. Ever since I was a kid, I'd loved to color and paint. When I was 4, I spotted his brand new laptop and thought it was such a dull gray. So I painted the lid a bright red and each key a different color. I thought it looked beautiful, but Dad nearly had a stroke when he saw it. Who's gonna fix this? She's such a pain. Why couldn't you give me a normal child? Even though I was just a kid, his words stung, so of course I burst into laughter, which just made him angrier. But it wasn't just Dad. Everyone misunderstood me all the time. One day in 1st grade, Monica, the richest girl in my class, was crying because her dog was stolen. You lost your dog? What kind of a person steals a dog? That's so sad. Everyone hugging her turned to me in shock. Monica looked at me with sheer hatred. Get out, Sage, you're so mean! After that, I became the mean witch in class. Everyone started picking on me, especially Monica. And no matter how hard I tried to explain that I didn't mean to laugh, no one seemed to believe me. I wanted so badly to be normal. I started watching the saddest movies, listened to the most heartbreaking songs, and read the newspaper to get all the worst news. Nothing helped, because I still burst into giggles at my grandma's funeral. I was actually so sad. I loved my grandma. But as I cackled away, everyone stared at me like I was crazy, and I ran off. Over the years, Mom came up with a way to cheer me up. Every time Dad got mad at me, she put $1 in a jar in my room. By the end of each month, I had enough money to buy art supplies. But obviously I hid this from Dad because he didn't want to spend a single cent on me. In the 6th grade, I entered an art contest in school. I worked really hard to make a nice painting with my cheap paints and paper. But as soon as Monica saw I was participating, she just had to one-up me. She took classes with a fancy art tutor and brought her expensive canvas and paints. She won by a landslide. I was so disappointed that I wanted to cry. So, in the crowded hall, I burst into laughter instead. The art teacher turned to me confused. What's so funny, Sage? Are you making fun of Monica's work? No, I swear. She's just laughing because she's a sore, crazy loser. Well, I had a bad reputation back then, and everyone thought I was mean. I stopped entering art competitions after that. I stayed in my room all day, and nothing Mom did cheered me up. After my homework, I'd spent the rest of the evening painting away and posting pictures to my art account on Instagram. Until one day in 8th grade, I got a really unexpected message there from a stranger. I just love your painting. I want to buy it. Will you take $150 for it? Someone wanted to buy my painting? For the first time in weeks, I was flying. When I got the money from selling it, I bought more supplies and started painting my butt off. For the next few months, everything I made got sold immediately. I was so over the moon. So one day in the cafeteria, while Monica was going on and on about her fancy French art teacher, I casually mentioned I'd sold 10 paintings for $150 each. Monica was livid. She practically choked on the caviar she was eating. There's no way you and your trashy art will sell on my watch. Oh, and how do you think you're gonna stop it? You'll see. And just a few days later, I did see how low Monica could go. Someone stole my sketch pad from my bag. And right after, a new Instagram account sprung up with all my artwork on it. I knew it was Monica, obviously. I ran to complain to my teachers, but I was pretty upset and couldn't stop laughing. So they all thought I was joking. Why would I do this when I'm so much better than her? Monica convinced everyone that I was a jealous liar who tried to frame her. And then she and her minions started blaming me for all kinds of things I'd never done. One day, she put super glue on the teacher's chair, and when the teacher got up, the chair was stuck to her butt. As everyone started giggling and she tried to pull it off, her skirt ripped. Monica pointed straight at me. I saw her with the glue. You can even check her locker. As everyone stared at me accusingly, I laughed until my stomach ached. And that's how I started ending up in detention every week, because teachers thought I was rude and a troublemaker. At first, I was furious, but suddenly I realized I loved detention. No one could bother me here, and I could paint in peace for hours. As I was busy painting one day, someone tapped me on the shoulder and I turned to see a boy who gently wiped my cheek with a tissue. You had some paint on your face. I just stared at him like a dummy. Who was this cutie? I've seen your paintings and they're amazing. Well, you're amazing. Do you think you could teach me? Eugene was a new boy at school who got stuck in detention often because he'd always prove his teachers wrong. I became his detention art tutor. He was really kind and clever, and somehow he didn't judge me for my laughing. I don't think you're crazy or mean at all. It could be a medical condition, you know? Maybe my dad can help. He's a neuroscientist. I did go see his dad one day without telling my parents. He explained that I had a condition where my brain would get the wrong signal when I felt sad, and my body's response was laughing instead of crying. He said it wasn't in my control at all, and I never needed to feel bad about it. A week later, Eugene made an adorable hand-painted card to ask me to go out with him. Of course, I said yes! One day, I was putting away my stuff in the locker when Eugene came running to me excitedly with a poster for a national art contest.
5 surprise toy mini brands, now with 40 more of your favorite toys made mini. Can you find the super rare gold? Out now!
Here is a great hack on how to save on Apple products. You can get awesome promo codes on iPhones and AirPods and Macs. It will even send.
You should enter this, Sage. You're really talented. I'm sure you can win. Just then, I heard Monica's nasty voice behind us. Ew, why are you telling this crazy loser that she's talented and raising her hopes for no good reason? Because he's my boyfriend, that's why. And why are you even talking to him? My step-cousin is your boyfriend? Are you out of your pea-sized mind? It's my turn to laugh at you. But I'd had enough. I pulled Eugene close and gave him a long, steamy kiss right in the middle of the corridor. My eyes! Ew, I can't watch this. Oh, no problem. We can just make out in the janitor's closet. And with that, I dragged Eugene into the closet while everyone was hooting outside. Obviously, both of us got detention again, but we didn't care. That was our happy place anyway. I started focusing on the upcoming competition, and I was really pumped for it. With my Instagram sales, I'd even made enough money to buy good quality materials. On the day of the competition, as soon as I started to unpack my supplies, I knew something was wrong. I started laughing. This could not be happening. My tubes of paint had been squeezed almost empty. Just then, I spotted Monica staring at me with a big, evil grin on her face. I couldn't give up. I wasn't going to let her bring me down. I did the best I could with whatever little paints I had, and miraculously, I won. But as I got off the stage with my trophy and a $1,000 check, Monica walked up to me. You think you can fool everyone, but I know you're just a big fraud. I was wondering who that idiot was who keeps commenting on your Instagram and buying your paintings. And well, I had them tracked down. All this time, you've been pretending to be a great artist when your mommy has been buying your lame art. What are you talking about? Go on, run home and ask Mommy Dearest. Monica was just a lunatic. But when I got home, I saw something that made me actually like Monica more than my own mother for a minute. Mom was carrying something down to the basement. When I followed her, I saw that every single art piece that I'd ever sold on Insta was lying there. Mom, are you my mystery Instagram buyer? She turned to me in complete shock, and then she started to cry. Yes, it's me. You were so sad after losing that contest, and I just wanted to encourage you. You lied to me. All this time, I thought I was actually good enough. Honey, you are really good, and that's the truth. I only bought these paintings to make you believe in yourself. You what? We turned around to see Dad in the doorway, looking beyond furious. You're telling me that you spent my money just to make her feel more talented? I want every cent back. Give it back to me right now, Sage. Just then, he spotted the check in my hand and leapt forward to snatch it, but Mom stepped in. Don't you dare! It's her money and her talent. Well, it's my house, and I want you both out of it. Mom and I spent the night at Grandma's. The next day when we went back home, hoping Dad would have come to his senses, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He'd thrown all my paintings in the yard, and he was driving over them. Mom, I'm not staying here another minute. Dad doesn't love us or care about us, and he's a maniac. Let's just leave him. We can manage on our own, I promise. We took all our stuff and moved to Grandma's for a while. After graduation, I worked super hard and built a new website to sell my art. Mom found a new job, but in another city. I was really sad to leave Eugene behind, but I knew Mom needed me. We tried to make it work long distance, but with work and school, it was really hard. Eventually, we both decided to call it quits. I laughed over my broken heart for days. Eventually, I got into a great art college on full scholarship and had my projects exhibited in many galleries over the years. On graduation day, I broke down into fits of laughter 5 times during my valedictorian speech. Soon after, someone emailed me saying they wanted to be my agent. We set up an interview at the cafe the next day. When I saw the agent, my heart stopped. Eugene! Ha! I knew you'd be surprised. I ran up to him and gave him a hug. He said he'd been following my work, and he couldn't wait to represent me. He booked me for shows that same week. During the last one, he whispered in my ear, I made a painting for you. Do you want to see it? I followed him to the end of the gallery and saw a painting of me and Eugene sitting in detention at school. I felt so moved. Suddenly, I felt something I'd never felt before. Wet tears streaming down my face. Was I finally crying? It was the best time of my life because that's when I fell in love with you. Sage, do you want to be with me again? I threw myself in his arms and gave him a kiss. Yes! Eugene was actually so excited that he'd made me cry. This had to be the weirdest romantic moment ever. 2 years later, we got married. We have 3 children, and the youngest, Freya, is just like me. No tears, only laughs.
Mom, am I weird? Everyone else gets to cry. Why can't I?
No, you're strong and you just laugh everything off, even when things are hard. You're not weird. You're absolutely okay. I made sure that not only her, but none of the kids in her school would be bullied. I studied to be an art therapist and started after-school programs for kids to help them channel their emotions into art. Little by little, I tried to make things better for our kids every day.